now the extent of the Sussexes Stateside flop has been laid bare by a damning Wall Street Journal exposé. According to the respected newspaper, pop sensation Taylor Swift snubbed a handwritten invite from Meghan Markle to appear on her dire podcast Archetypes through a representative. Further explosive details of the runaway couple's disastrous 3 years in Hollywood include Archewell struggling to make good on all of the terms of the Spotify deal, with Harry in particular finding it difficult to land on a podcast idea. Executives at Netflix furious at Archewell's lack of output and feeling that the success of the Harry and Meghan documentary is all the company has to show for the deal. Employees at Archewell complaining the company often lacks direction, with Harry and Meghan seemingly surprised by the work required to finish entertainment products. So, Lady C, this has been a catastrophic weekend for the Sussexes, because not only has it been revealed by the Wall Street Journal that they are clueless and that they have no ideas about how to make entertainment products, and that they have been snubbed by Taylor Swift, who didn't even bother to reply to Meghan's handwritten note. She got her PR to do it for her. But also they've been shown once more to be work shy and lazy.
Well, of course, Dan, the reality is they have nothing to offer except royal status. And they have trashed the royals and they have trashed royal status. What do they have to offer? They are two losers who have exposed themselves as being unimaginative, inadequate losers. And everybody knows it now. You know, I mean, there's nowhere for them to go except to maybe one of the 16 lavatory bowls that they have in their Montecito house.
Yeah, but how are they going to keep affording to pay for those bathrooms, Phil Dampier? Because, look, anyone who is thinking about signing a deal with the Sussexes is going to read this Wall Street Journal piece, and if I were them, I'd say, save my millions. Why waste your millions on someone who isn't prepared to do the work?
Yeah, good evening, Dan. Just reading that they reckon that they could lose up to $40 million if they don't get any more contracts. I was just looking online tonight. There's a guy called Jeremy Zimmer, quite a very well-known Hollywood talent agent, and I think he sums it up best. He says, just because you're famous, it doesn't mean you're great at something, you know, and I think they've just been found out. As you said, they're work shy. They haven't got any great ideas. They haven't really got any great projects coming up. Apparently, they want to do something, a spin-off from Charles Dickens's Great Expectations. I'm not quite sure if we have great expectations for that taking off. But it's amazing once you get a momentum going, people like Taylor Swift pulling out, then other people start to think they don't want to be associated with failure. And so it goes on. So once it starts heading in that direction, it's very difficult to get the momentum back again.
Yeah, it's a woke version of Great Expectations, by the way, so I think it's going to be total rubbish. And from what I'm told, Netflix don't want anything to do with these guys once the contract is over. And I know Lady C had heard the same thing last week. But look, those damning details weren't the only blow to the couple's reputation this weekend, though, because a bombshell Bloomberg report also revealed Prince Harry demanded an interview with Vladimir Putin, Donald Trump and Mark Zuckerberg for a Spotify podcast series. But the Deluded Duke's grand plan, which involved asking the Russian despot about his childhood trauma, was quickly quashed. The report also revealed producers were left scratching their head after hapless Harry pitched one crazed idea to interview Pope Francis on religion. The Sussexes' £15 million deal with Spotify was subsequently axed, with the Duke failing to produce any podcasts. Lady C, Harry wanted to interview Putin? I mean, what's this about?
Well, obviously, Harry wants to be breakfast. I mean, Putin would have eaten him alive. Actually, it would have been a wonderfully entertaining broadcast, you know, and somebody would have got rid of at least one of that desperate duo, and Putin would have just gobbled him up for breakfast. I mean, the whole thing's ludicrous. And also, I mean, if Harry's going to interview world leaders, surely he should be interviewing them about their accomplishments in the present and their aims for the future, not Oh, what did you suffer when you were 3 years old? Do tell me. I suffered. I was a prince. Can you believe it? Mummy died when I was 2 weeks short of my 13th birthday. I had to walk behind the coffin. Oh, my life has been so terrible. I mean, much worse than all those starving masses in the rest of the world. The guy's nuts. I mean, he's delusional.
It's really interesting, Phil Dampier, isn't it, though? Because clearly Harry and Meghan believed that their little black book was so bulging that all of their mates, right, all of their famous mates were going to be prepared to bail them out financially. But actually, no one wanted to be associated with them. I mean, certainly not, Zuckerberg and Putin and the Pope. That's pie in the sky stuff. But Phil, not even the Obamas. Not even Taylor Swift, because these Hollywood people don't want to be associated now with a brand that is so toxic, because it's a brand that has been created of trying to destroy the British royal family, which actually, on the whole, American celebrities are desperate to be a part of.
Well, if he played his cards right and he hadn't fallen out with them, the best interviews he could have got would have been with his father and his brother, wouldn't it? I mean, the Queen never gave an interview in her entire life, in her entire reign. Everyone from Michael Parkinson to Barbara Walters.
Actually, Phil, I mean, maybe if he hadn't have treated the Queen and the family so badly, maybe the Queen herself, the late Queen herself, would even have agreed, But that was never going to happen with the way he exited.
No, she played along with a couple of his podcasts, so that's what he should have done. But, of course, he's mucked it up. But I agree with Lady C. I mean, the idea that him interviewing Vladimir Putin or Donald Trump or the Pope, I mean, it would have been pure box office gold, wouldn't it? It would have been absolutely incredible. Everyone would have tuned in their millions to watch him. But I don't think he was quite in the John Freeman league, Prince Harry. Younger viewers probably don't know who he was, but he was a guy who interviewed people in the 60s and really got into their heads. And I'm not sure that he quite has the intellect to do that. But so it was a non-starter.
Well, no, of course, because 3 years and the bloke could not come up with one podcast idea. And you know what? Spotify, they tried so hard. They even spent millions to build a studio. They actually constructed a studio within these guys' mansions. They didn't even need to leave the house in order to conduct their work. Yet they still didn't do the work. I mean, it really is pathetic. But look, I want to move on because Lady Susan Hussey, very much back in the royal fold now. She was spotted in the royal box at Ascot alongside Queen Camilla and King Charles. The former lady-in-waiting to Queen Elizabeth II was, of course, forced to resign from royal duties in the wake of this race row less than 6 months ago. She was at the King's coronation, though. So do you think, Lady C, now that clearly the royal family is saying Lady Hussey did nothing wrong, which you said publicly at the time, I said publicly at the time, do you think she needs an apology for the way she was treated over Ngazi Fulani?
Oh, I don't think she wants an apology. She's loyal. She is the ultimate courtier. She is a wonderful woman. She doesn't want an apology. She wants this subject to be dead and buried and move on. She fell on her sword. She committed the ultimate sacrifice. And she is still, as said that she would be in the royal fold still. She still is. She's always going to be. I think from her point of view, the best thing we could do where she's concerned is not ask for an apology. She doesn't want an apology. She wants the story to move on, and maybe you and I and everybody else can celebrate the fact that Ngozi Fulani, otherwise known as Marlene Henry, is out of a
She wasn't there. She wasn't there, thank goodness. Lady Colin Campbell, Phil Dampier, my royal masterminds.